Jay Gabler, arts and entertainment reporter at the Duluth News Tribune, with another special episode of the DNT Minute featuring my column, Front Row Seat. This week I visit two Duluth bookstores where you can browse for hours at each of them, let alone both of them. I had to restrain myself. Anyway, here's the story. 10 years ago, my parents sold their house and held an estate sale. Aside from the incredible sight of toy collectors sweeping entire armloads of my Star Wars figures and Transformers into shopping bags, ready to pay anything we were asking, a moment that stuck with me involved the book tables. We had one set price for paperbacks and another for hardcovers, as was standard yard sale procedure at the time. A few shoppers, though, pulled out their phones and methodically began scanning every book's barcode. Seeing what each book was selling for online, they left the worthless ones behind and scooped up the rarities. Watching that process, I realized that used book shopping would never again be the same. Every bookstore owner would naturally do the same thing these buyers were doing, then list their inventory for sale on the internet. The idea of making a rare find would be gone. Except for the possibility of saving on shipping, browsing at a used bookstore would be the same as browsing online, only with a vastly smaller selection. I was less bummed at the disappearance of potential bargains than at the loss of the sense that, while browsing at some hole in the wall, you could find a book you might never stumble upon again. Every book that exists would be available online, selling for exactly its worth. What fun is that? Last Friday, having hardly dreamed such an experience would be possible in 2024, I again experienced the thrill of used book discovery. I visited two Duluth bookstores where the stacks are so vast that even though it's likely true you can also find a copy of every one of their books being sold online somewhere, there's a sense that a book is waiting on the shelves just for you. My first stop was at Chester Creek Books and Antiques. Expecting it to occupy a couple basement rooms in the church building at 1333 East Superior Street, I was astonished to find the bookstore fills the entire sanctuary, choir loft included. It was built in 1946 as a Seventh-day Adventist church, explained Mark Kylan, who co-owns the store with his wife Kay. When the congregation moved to its present home at 3210 Decker Road, their original building was at risk of demolition, so, Kylan said, they were happy to sell it to me. The bookstore opened in its present space in 2009. It took a while to fill the shelves with an estimated 40,000 volumes. Kylan, a retired radiologist, built most of the shelves himself. But now the store is self-sustaining. Before long, I will be turning the shop over to a younger person who's now working with me, said Kylan. I felt as if I was the first person ever to set foot inside the store, which has a trapped-in-time quality. Bookshelves are arranged in a labyrinthine array with seemingly random antiques, a model ship, a mannequin torso, interspersed. Oftentimes, a couple comes in and one of them is a book person, the other's an antique person, explained Kylan. While the store fills much more than just the basement, it does encompass the subterranean rooms. A children's room brought me back to my own childhood and to the childhoods of my parents and grandparents. Books are arranged by series both well-known and obscure, while 1980s issues of Cricket magazine were stamped with the address of Duluth's defunct Woodland Branch Library. Kylan welcomes a steady stream of customers from near and far, he said. We have a lot of local regulars that will come in and buy 3 or 4 books, he said, but if somebody comes in and grabs a box and starts filling it, sometimes as many as 6 or 7 boxes, that's usually people from down in the cities or somewhere else. The store sells some items online, but in-person sales remain Kylan's bread and butter. While the store owner is ready for the upcoming management transition, which he expects to be complete by the end of 2024, I haven't learned what's going on with the young people, what they're reading, admitted the octogenarian. He's enjoyed his years in business. You learn a lot by just sitting here, said Kylan. People come in that are interested in some particular subject. Pretty soon you're talking to them and you're learning a lot about various and sundry things. That's one of the joys of being here. While Kylan's prices are low, Chester Creek is positively spendy compared to Gabriel's bookstore, which has the vibe of a big little free library. Signage on Friday noted that all cookbooks were free, and as a summer special, every child could grab 5 free books. Do you have to live in Duluth, or can they live in Superior? Asked one customer. I have some great-grandkids. Anybody who comes in, every time they come in, replied staffer Wanda Bevis. Wherever the kids call home, they just have to somehow find their way to 4915 East Superior Street. Aside from the giveaway items, everything can be had for just $5 a bag. That deal started during COVID-19 lockdowns, explained Bevis, when people found themselves stuck at home and decided to clean out. The bargain has never expired because the book donations have just kept coming. Where do all the books come from? Even though Duluth has multiple businesses, including Chester Creek, that might pay cash or store credit for used books, the flood of donations to Gabriel's just keeps flowing. In fact, my interview with Bevis was interrupted when someone stuck her head in the door and asked if I could help carry a box of books to the donation table. I got a bless you for my efforts, which was apt given that sales at Gabriel's benefit the adjacent St. Michael's Catholic Church. The bookstore project started in 1987 at a nearby house, then moved in 1994 to its present location in the Lakeside Professional Building, formerly St. Michael's School, where the below-ground bookstore was once a cafeteria and gymnasium. They provide us with the space and the telephone and lights, said Bevis about the volunteer-run store. I don't think very many of us are Catholic, but we all just love to read. Where, I asked, does the store name come from? There's an angel, Bevis pointed out. The collection is comparable in size to that at Chester Creek, and while Gabriel's doesn't have as many rarities, it's impossible to imagine that any reader wouldn't find something of interest. The most popular titles go relatively quickly. A volunteer exclaimed with delight when a Stephen King book came in, and a box labeled Dinosaurs sat empty in the children's section. But the others just wait for the right reader to come along. As I reached for a $5 bill to pay for my bag of books, Bevis spotted a penny on the floor. Someone, she declared, is throwing their money around. That's this week's column. I'll be back next week with a story about a new play being produced on the Iron Range in Virginia, specifically at Rock Ridge High, under the auspices of Minneapolis-based Mixed Blood Theater. That's next week. Until then, I'm Jay Gabler, Duluth News Tribune.